mission and fire in his heart.
We broken, we just bruised. We still chosen, never used. When we rise for good. For our name, for our hood, we stand round.
We stand strong.
Been oppressed for far too long, but now we burning brighter than the sun. This battle just begun.
Asking me to stand down while people just stand round. Recording policemen, hold a man down till his breath ran out. My eyes can't take another black man down, while other blacks stand round, yelling, officer, stand down. Instead of putting hands down, y'all come on now. When the time gon' come for you to put fist up and give a black man pound, shoulder to shoulder, stand round and say, I dare y'all now.
If one fall, we all fall. If one call, we all call. You watching him take his last breath, but silence is death. That's on y'all. Stand round, stand proud, stand tall. No more victims in the shadows of the law. Hands up, fists tight, we brawl. Justice no big gift, we must take it all. Stand round, stand proud, stand tall.
Say it loud.
Black skin sacred, can't erase it all. Heart strong, so deep we crawl, but still we rise, we break that wall.
They say wait, be calm, be patient, but how many mothers gotta bury their baby? How many fathers gotta fake that strength when the world don't give them space to vent? I done seen dreams turn into chalk lines, seen a badge turn a man into a flat line, and we still post signs, still march streets. But how many protests till they feel defeat? You can't free your people with fear in your mouth. Gotta fight like your spirit was born in the South, like Harriet walking with chains in the dark, like Malcolm with a mission and fire in his...
All right, welcome. Today is Christmas, so if you celebrate, Merry Christmas. If you don't, then Happy Holidays. New Year's is coming up. It's the holidays. Everybody's with their family. Hope you're enjoying your time. If you did get to celebrate, I hope you got what you asked for, right? Hope that the people in your life were listening all year when you were talking about the things that you were interested in, and they got you something that you can appreciate and enjoy. And likewise, I hope you got them something that they appreciate, they enjoy, and you had some good food, right? We had Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we have New Year's coming up next week. And I made this joke before, but like we used to say in the Army, just don't add to the population and don't take away from the population. Before we get into what it is that we're going to be covering tonight, once again, I come to you again to show you the hats. They are here. And if you are interested in buying one, there is a product link somewhere around this video. If you're interested, then by all means, I would love the support for the channel. Now, we have quite a few things that we are going to get into tonight. We're going to talk about this student loan thing. Everybody that is defaulting on their student loans, those chickens have come home to roost. In January, the Trump administration, they said that they're going to get that money back. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, taking 15% of people's paychecks, up to 15%. We're going to talk about Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton came out, said he wants the files released. There's been a lot of speculation that he's in the files, that he's been doing something untoward because of his relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And we may talk about... I think I want to do a brief couple comments on Kamala Harris. We know that she has been doing her book tour. At least the past couple of months, she had been doing a book tour. So she's making a lot of media appearances. And I keep seeing her come up, and I want to briefly make some comments on that. And what is this? In Trump's Christmas post, Trump, per usual, goes on a deranged set of True Social posts about Christmas and how he's being attacked and how the left is radical and all of this stuff. We're going to get into some of his comments. But where I want to start is we're going to start with, excuse me, let me grab my AirPods. There we go. We are going to start with this Bill Clinton thing. So let's check this out. So if you don't know, this kid over here, this is Adam Mockler. He's 23 years old, 24 years old, somewhere around there. He has his own channel. He's a YouTuber. So If you're interested, he makes some pretty good content. He stays up on current events. And he regularly goes on Abby Phillips' segment on CNN, and basically he clobbers all of the Republicans there. Usually it's Scott Jennings. Today, and this segment that we're about to watch, it's this guy. So without any further ado, let me go ahead and just play you this, and we're going to go through the comments that are made here.
Do we all agree that Bill Clinton
Bring it back
probably molested women? I'm not laughing.
No, actually, wait. Actually, I mean,
do we all
but hold
agree?
on
There
a
are more
second.
photos of
Hold
Epstein
on,
and Trump
hold
than
on a
Epstein and
second,
Clinton.
Joe.
Molested
Hold
children.
on a second, Joe. No, we do not know that Bill Clinton.
He's
did
not
what
in
you
a
are
picture
alleged-
with you, Fred?
Joe,
He's
we,
not in a
we
picture
do
with you,
not
Fred?
know that Bill Clinton is doing what
Is there
you are
more
alleging.
evidence that
we
Bill
do
Clinton
not
acted
know
inappropriately
that
about
Donald
women who are
Trump
Where
has
was
done
Juve
anything
traffic out of, huh?
inappropriate.
Where was Juve traffic out of?
Hold on a second. Seriously.
Okay, so the guy, he says, don't we know about Ghislaine Maxwell, Jeffrey Epstein, and Bill Clinton's relationship? Because there's some photos that have come out, and they allege, it's also been alleged that Bill Clinton was mentioned in the Epstein files in an email that said, does Putin have a picture of Trump blowing Bubba? Bubba is suspected to be Bill Clinton, right? No confirmation of that. No confirmation of any untoward involvement of either of these guys, right? But this gentleman here says there are pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell and there are pictures of Bill Clinton together. Adam Mockler, the 23-year-old, has to remind this gentleman there are more pictures of Ghislaine Maxwell and Donald Trump than there are of Bill Clinton and Ghislaine Maxwell. Namely, let's go over to Google. 1, 2, 3. That's just 3 on the top row. Here's another one, 4. Notice how all of these different pictures have different outfits. Just on a short list, on a short look, you can tell that there's plenty of pictures of Donald Trump and Ghislaine Maxwell. So this type of association is not necessarily determining what their relationship is, right? So we got to get away from this thing. I know that it's become a political bloodbath to try to tie either a Democrat or a Republican to it. But we have to, one thing that's important to remember, regardless of what Trump is trying to do on a political level, at the time that Jeffrey Epstein was in his heyday, Trump was a Democrat. He switched to the Republican Party. He ran as a Republican in 2015, got the election in 2016. When Trump and Epstein were friends, both of these gentlemen, or both of these men, Epstein is not a gentleman, Trump is undetermined, but these guys were both Democrats. So all of this stuff that Trump is going out saying, oh, well, Epstein is this and he was tied with the Democrats, Trump was one as well, right, in his heyday. So that's important to remember if we're going to be trying to play this political game like, oh, it's people on the left, it's people on the right. At the end of the day, the real focus is on the victims. The victims are the people that are being overlooked, and the American people demand justice on behalf of these victims. That's why we keep saying, hey, release the files, release the files, release the files. And unfortunately, Pam Bondi and the Justice Department, they've been messing it up at every turn. I don't want to go into an entire history of, how this all started and them saying that they were going to release the files and back and forth. I've talked about that ad nauseum. And if I'm being completely honest, everybody knows that story by now. So what I do want to show you is a brief moment that, or a brief comment that Todd Blanche, the deputy director over at the DOJ, his explanation for why Ghislaine Maxwell was moved. So here we go. It says, at the time that I met Miss Maxwell, there was a tremendous amount of scrutiny and publicity towards her in the institution she was in. She was suffering numerous threats against her life. He did not elaborate on the threats. So Ghislaine Maxwell, she was moved from Florida to Texas, a maximum security prison to a minimum security prison. And if you don't remember, at this time, there was a lot of talk about any testimony that Ghislaine Maxwell could give in order to shed some light on what was going on with Trump, right? I apologize, I didn't have that up on the screen. This is the block where the comments come from, his quote. But Ghislaine Maxwell, there was a lot of a lot of controversy in that time, and people wanted to know what it is that she had to say on her relationship with Trump, the relationship with Trump and Epstein, right? Todd Blanche goes over there, has a secret conversation that they said that they were going to release. You know, that's part of the DOJ files that are supposed to be released that hasn't made it to the public sphere just yet. And then she gets moved over to this minimum security prison where she has a dog, where she has a rec center, where she's running around, basically enjoying her life as much as she can to be in prison, right? Not all prisons are, you know, what you see on TV. Some of them literally have like chain link fences. I don't know if that's the one that she's at, but some prisons are like that. And she's been moved to a minimum security prison and nobody knows why. It says she was moved from prison to Florida to a minimum security federal prison in Texas this summer, shortly after she met with Blanche as part of the Trump administration's efforts to quiet backlash over its handling of the federal government's documents related to the late Jeffrey Epstein. So there we go. They were trying to handle it quietly. They were trying to find out what information she knows, what statements he was potentially going to make, or maybe, you know, it's been alleged as well that they were going to offer her a deal. Just like I said, messed up at every turn. People don't know what it is that they are doing, what they want to do with this situation. And there's no transparency from the peace president, the most transparent administration that's ever been blessed with the opportunity to have Trump in office, right? That's what we were told. Turns out not so true. It says Maxwell convicted, she was an accomplice basically. So there we go. We're not going to get too much into that. What I will say is, if there were threats on Ghislaine Maxwell's life, why were those people that were threatening her not removed from the facility? Why were they not isolated into like a special housing unit in the SHU, in a what they call a solitary confinement? If there was credible threats, if they thought that her life was in danger, why does she need to be moved from a maximum security prison to a minimum security prison? You have special housing units. You have moving her to another maximum security prison. It seems like at all turns they just wanted to give her some sort of out, right? Some sort of deal in order to sway whatever comment she might have made to the public. Now, she's not satisfied, right? Nobody wants to be in prison. That's not really a place that you go on vacation. So she has been fighting to get out. We'll see how her fight goes, but turn after turn, she keeps getting denied. Her latest thing is, oh, well, there was a bit of information that wasn't presented in my trial that should have been presented. You know, the same thing Tory Lanez was trying to do. It's too late. You went to trial. We don't know if you're going to have the opportunity to appeal, but you have to be held accountable for your actions. So that's what she is right now. Let's check out this other thing. So this is Fox News, of all news stations, turning on the Trump administration, turning on Pam Bondi. It's not really a secret that Trump has a 36% approval rating. People are not happy with the job that this administration is doing. You know, there's people that are jumping ship, namely, what's the lady's name? The lady from over in Georgia. I forgot her name. Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's jumped ship. Dan Bongino, the deputy director of the FBI, he's jumping ship. Pam Bondi is under a lot of scrutiny. Kash Patel is under a lot of scrutiny. Everybody in the Trump administration, all the stuff that they thought they were going to be able to implement is not going so hot for them. But this is Fox News essentially turning on Pam Bondi. They kind of throw her under the bus. So let's take a look at their comments over there.
The DOJ that said this was a hoax and said that there were no files all of a sudden have 1 million more files to release. I mean, this whole thing is a joke and it's embarrassing. And how is anybody, Democrats or Republicans or the American people, going to believe Republicans? They got rid of all of the lawyers who were credible and were able to work and do these things. And they have now people who are incompetent and their work is now shoddy. So this is not surprising, and I agree with Annie that this is just going to continue to drag out the story, and it does not serve the administration well. It doesn't serve the victims nor the American people well. They should just release all the files, deal with it as it comes, and be done with this, and let's turn the page and talk about the economy.
Tom.
I mean,
See, that is the issue, Because when the Trump administration, when the people in the Trump administration were being picked, when they were being brought in, the sentiment coming out of 2024 was own the libs. They're going to come in and own the libs. We're all being owned, unfortunately. You know, at the end of the day, Trump is the president. We want him to succeed in making this country great again. I know that there's a lot of controversy around that statement, but we want America to thrive. As Americans, as people that, you know, we have children, we have families, we want to see America prosper into the future. It's not happening. And I got to say that more than anybody, Pam Bondi is the biggest inspiration that I have out of the Trump administration, because if she can be a lawyer, be successful, be in a presidential administration, and she's this terrible at her job, then I believe that I could probably do anything. So if she's losing Fox News, if the administration is losing Fox News, they're repeatedly being chastised and assaulted over there. Insulted, not assaulted. They're being insulted over there for the work that they're doing and the results that they are not bringing versus all the things that they campaigned on doing. Then, you know, the proof is in the pudding. We'll see what happens next year in 2026. We'll see what happens in 2028. But it's not shining a very good light on this administration. People are not vibing with what's happening. Pam Bondi is, understandably, she's being held accountable for the things that her department is not doing. But she's also being treated as like the only person that's doing a bad job, when that's not true. There are plenty of people that are trying to do things that are heavy-handed in terms of immigration, the Department of Justice not releasing files, the FBI proactive or jumping the gun and tweeting certain people are being captured or interviewed or having suspects. It's just everywhere that you turn. And this Pete Hegseth going on initially saying, oh, we can blow up these boats and essentially telling the Navy to double tap these boats over in Venezuela, and then throwing the admiral under the bus and saying, oh, he made that decision on his own. Everywhere you turn with this administration, they have something going on that they have no control of. Because, like I said, when you get in and your only goal is to own the libs, once they've been owned, like, okay, now we actually have to do some policy, make people's lives better, do something that's going to be beneficial to Americans, besides making them feel good about going after their opponents, right? Their opponents on the left. And it's not happening. People are tired of it. People are tired of the theatrics. They're ready for some policy that's going to help them. Not 50-year mortgages like Trump was trying to throw out. The Doge ended up running with their tail tucked between their legs. All of these promises made, promises not kept. People are tired of it. All right. So Bill Clinton, I know that we started this talking about Bill Clinton. Let's bring it back to close this out. After Bill Clinton was essentially called out in the Epstein release documents, all the pictures that they had of him, the statements that have been made, basically people underhandedly accusing him of having some sort of nefarious relationship with Ghislaine Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. He's saying, just release the documents. At least his spokesperson is. So it says in the statement, Clinton spokesperson Angel Urania accused the DOJ of using the selective release of Epstein documents to imply wrongdoing where there is none, challenging the department to immediately release any remaining materials mentioning or showing Bill Clinton in the files. Bill Clinton's like, yo, if you have something on me, show it. Like, people are making insinuations about what's happening, but how about we just show and tell? Because the proof is in the pudding, right? We can show all the documents, all of the emails, all of the pictures, and that's going to give all of the context that's needed. He's not making much other statements than that. He's not blaming Republicans or doing all of this stuff that Trump is doing, saying that it's a hoax. So when you look at this type of situation, it makes you more suspicious of why Trump is so scared, it seems, right? We don't know for sure, but it seems like he's so scared for these documents and this information to come out. He's trying to depart from the fact that he was a Democrat at the time that Jeffrey Epstein was in his heyday. But I'm with Bill Clinton. I'm with the people of the United States that have voted for these documents to come out that ask for transparency from this administration. And I'd like to see what's going on with this situation. I'd like to see people be held accountable. And most importantly, the victims deserve justice. You guys drop your thoughts down in the chat. If there's anybody here, let me double check. We had somebody here. You guys can let me know what you think down in the chat. But we're going to move on. We are going to move on to our next thing. So let me just go ahead and take a break. We'll come back and get into the next segment.
Asking me to stand down while people just stand around. Recording policemen, hold a man down till his breath ran out. My eyes can't take another black man down while other blacks stand round. Yelling, officer, stand down. Instead of putting hands down, y'all come on now. When the time gon' come for you to put fist up and give a black man pound, shoulder to shoulder, stand round and say, I dare y'all now.
All right, so we are back. Earlier in the year, the Trump administration, they made it very clear that they were going to end the pause that Biden put on repaying student loans. So during the pandemic, there was like a mortgage moratorium. People didn't have to pay their student loans back. And the Trump administration, Trump said, hey, we're going to start collecting that money again. They said that, I think around like July. Then they said, if you go into default, we're going to start garnishing your checks. We're going to start garnishing your tax returns. Like, we're going to get this money by any means. Well, the day of reckoning is upon us. And people are about to be extremely hurt. People are about to be extremely hurt. And once again, this is what we voted for. We've fucked around and we found out. A little transparency. I don't have student loans. When they told me what I was going to be paying for school, I decided that I was going to drop out and pursue certifications. You guys know I'm a network engineer. So this doesn't necessarily affect me, but I do think that it's a huge problem. I do think that people, if you take out a loan, you need to pay it back. But I also recognize the very difficult situation people are already in. It is only going to be exacerbated by the fact that they could have their checks or their taxes garnished up to 15%. So let's check this out. This is coming from Wall Street Apes over on Twitter.
If you have defaulted on your student loan, the Trump administration will begin to garnish your pay starting next month. According to the Department of Education, starting the week of January 7th, borrowers in default will get a notice of their status. They'll be given 30 days before payment is withheld. They didn't say how much would be deducted from their paychecks, but according to the government student aid website, up to 15% of an employee's pay can be taken out and withheld. Right now, about 5 million borrowers are in default, and millions more are expected to miss payments. If you have
Yeah, America's in her last days, unfortunately. As we approach the 250th anniversary of America, we're at the end of this project that we've been working on. I'm going to tell you why. Because people don't have any fucking money. That's why. Very, very simple answer. Short, sweet, and to the point. People, I think I can't remember where I saw this or what the exact number was, but it said something like 50% of people can't afford a $400 emergency. People, there's a substantial amount of the population that has no savings at all. They can't afford a $400 emergency. 42 million people that are on assisted sustenance programs in order to feed themselves on SNAP, right? We saw that entire fiasco early in October and November where people were begging the Trump administration to release some funds, $6 billion of emergency funds for a program that costs $9 billion a month in order to feed people. And then we're going to tell them, hey, we know that 12% of our population can't feed themselves. We know we have 5 million borrowers that are potentially going to default on these loans after they can't pay for 30 days. And then we're going to start garnishing their check. Yes. Oh, yes. We are in our last days, unfortunately, because I just became an adult and I would like to, for once in the past couple of years, I'd like to see a thriving America and be able to have some hope and some promise that we're going to have a country into the future. But who knows at this point? So people are going to be getting their checks garnished at up to 15%. So I wanted to find out, I asked Google to give me an answer. I said, what percentage of American paychecks cover basic needs, food, clothing, shelter, and water? You know, people have electricity, gas, they have cars, that type of thing, which, you know, because of the way society is set up, people, they have to get to work, they have to drive to work on highways and roads that are significantly far away from where they actually live, right? So I asked Google, what percentage of American paychecks cover basic needs? It says a significant portion of American paychecks go to necessities, with studies showing around 24 to 25% of households spending over 95% of their income on essentials like housing, food, gas, and utilities, meaning no ifs, ands, or buts about it. So something happened with my my streaming software. So what does that mean? That means that the Trump administration, as much as they say that they're trying to make America great again, they're going to save America, they don't really care about the little people. They're giving he's been trying to do this thing where he's putting no regulation on AI. They keep saying, oh, we got to compete with China. We got to compete with China. So everybody else gets a little bit of leniency. Everybody else gets tax breaks. Everybody else gets to be handcuffed and unleashed to do whatever it is that they want to do. We're going $400 million to a ballroom. He's writing his name on all types of buildings and cards and implementing plans to keep H-1B visas workers here. But what he's not doing is looking at the American population, the citizens, and saying, what can we actually do to make your life better? Is it going to make your life better if you have student loans? If you have to take 15% of your paycheck and you're only able to live on 85%, of course it's not. You're already, most likely, most people are using credit cards. Most people are in an extraordinary amount of debt. And you're only digging yourself deeper into a hole in this type of situation. It says 95% of their income on essentials. That means you only have 85% of your check left that you bring home. You're already 10% in the hole. And this is what the Trump administration thinks is best for the American people. I know that there are people that are going to say, oh, you fucked around and you found out, didn't you? And it's true. You did fuck around. You did find out. But at the end of the day, we want Americans across the board to thrive. No matter what your ideology is, no matter who you voted for, no matter what you look like, we have to live in this space together. And it's not advantageous to point at your neighbor and say, oh, well, I'm doing well and you're not. Or, you know, you deserve this because you voted for that person. At the end of the day, we all suffer. If one person is suffering from the things that Trump is doing, we're all suffering. So this is no laughing matter. I want to show you one more thing. We already talked about the 50-year mortgages, right? Trump's plan to save the next generation, that he's about to fuck them with this 15% garnishing their check. Because they already were barely getting by. Housing prices go up, food prices go up. They keep talking about inflation is going down and GDP is going up. It doesn't fucking matter. 25% of the population, maybe up to 34%, are spending damn near all of their check. So he's talking about this housing thing. He had the 50-year mortgage idea. He has no plans for the next generation. His plan is to enrich himself, is to enrich his friends, is to enrich the older people, the people that are, you know, born in the 60s, born in the 40s. That's who Trump is worried about. And if you don't believe me, he says very plainly that he is trying to protect their wealth, protect their housing, the housing market that they were able to live in over the past 40 years and have substantially high prices. He said that it needs to be protected. Even though he ran on building more houses, opening up certain avenues in order to build and streamline the process, he's not doing it. He doesn't care. Here's a video, another one over on Fox News, where Trump basically says, hey, We don't really care about the younger generation. We're worried about growing and preserving the income or the wealth of previous generations. Here we go.
There's two thoughts on housing. You have a lot of people have housing that because we have such a strong time and such a strong market, their houses are very valuable. It's a big part of their net worth, their house.
God damn. I don't know if you guys noticed this. I just noticed this. Trump's left eye is lazy as hell. I'm going to play this back a second. Pay attention to this dude's eye. And granted, he's getting up there. He's getting older, so he's not going to have all of his faculties about him. But let's just start this from the beginning and try to listen, try to pay attention to what he's saying, but also watch this eye.
There's two thoughts on housing. You have a lot of people have housing that because we have such a strong time and such a strong market, their houses are very valuable. It's a big part of their net worth, their house. I don't want to knock those numbers down because I want them to continue to have a big value for their house.
He said a lot of people's, if you couldn't hear that, he said a lot of people's wealth, these older people that have houses that have had generations to build, well, a lot of their wealth is tied up in their housing. And we don't want to knock that down because they worked hard to build it. I understand 100%. When you don't want to kill the housing market and for those people to lose their housing value. But let me ask you, what's more important? Preserving the wealth of people that are on their way out the door. They've had multiple decades, maybe up to 8 or 9 decades to build what it is that they have. They've worked, they've retired. They probably own their home, right? Versus people that are living in, they're building all these townhouses. They're building all these apartments. They're not building as many single family homes, and they for certain are not building starter homes. Because in order to preserve the wealth of the people that already have these single family homes from generations past, because those people are still here, Donald Trump is saying we have to preserve what they have. And we can't put their wealth, my wealth, not my wealth, but Donald Trump's wealth, at risk by building more houses for starter families. This is the problem with what Republicans have voted for and what Republicans are trying to implement. They say that, we want to bring the families back. The family is the backbone of society. I agree. I've been married 4 years. I agree that family is important. But you can't have, people don't want a family if they can't have a home. People don't want a home if they can't fucking afford it. And this just all ties back. And I'm not saying, we need to forgive people student loans or, it's a very complex issue, right? Because people have to pay their loans back. And people also need money to live. And people also need to be able to buy into the American society. It's a complex issue, but all of these things can't exist in tandem. You can't have people go broke and tell them you're not going to build housing and, and all the prices are going up. Being a young person in this generation, it's already been said, right, that people in this generation and the generations to come, they're going to live worse off than their parents. Trump came in talking about affordability, talking about getting things on the right track. And the things that he's been trying to implement or his ideas across the gambit, it's not even just this affordability thing. They're not working. We need some new lifeblood into politics, somebody with a vision that can actually get us back on track because we're $38 trillion in debt. And asking people that are already broke, hey, can you pay back these student loans? We're going to garnish your check so you can be impoverished is not a solution. And this thing with housing is not a solution either. You guys can let me know what you think. These are just my ideas based on, what I'm seeing. I don't see how this is sustainable. I don't see how this is working. I don't see how this is beneficial or making America great. Trump has been able to make a substantial amount of money, allegedly, since he's been back into office. He's building ballrooms. He's giving money to foreign aid. He's trading $20 billion with Argentina in some sort of Forex deal. We're bombing Venezuela, getting ready to invade. It's like, okay, when are you going to start focusing on the needs of the everyday person? 370 million people. How many people are closely tied to Trump that are winning versus the mass majority of us that are not winning? I've given Trump credit. I've gone to the the gas station, and I see the prices, they're down. I'm able to fill my car for, I don't want to say an exact price. I don't know what it is across the entire nation, but it's less than what it was under Biden. 100% Trump gets credit for that. I'm giving him credit for that. He's the guy in the chair when it happened. I'm giving him a little bit of credit for that. But all of the rest of this stuff is not sustainable and it's not working. So you guys let me know what you think. Let me take a brief break. I'm going to pull up the next segment and then we'll roll right into that.
Asking me to stand down while people just stand around. Recording policemen, hold a man down till his breath ran out. My eyes can't take another black man down, while other blacks stand round, yelling, officer, stand down, instead of putting hands down. Y'all come on now. When the time gon' come for you to put fist up and give a black man pound, shoulder to shoulder, stand round and say, I dare y'all now.
If one fall, we all fall. If one call, we all call. You watching him take his last breath, but silence is death. The song, y'all. Stand round, stand proud, stand tall. No more victims in the shadows of the law. Hands up, fists tight, we brawl. Justice no big gift, we must take it all. Stand round, stand proud, stand tall.
Say it loud.
Black skin sacred, can't erase it all. Heart strong, so deep we crawl, but still we.
Any fathers gotta fake that strength when the world don't give them space to vent. I done seen dreams turn into chalk lines, seen a badge turn a man into a flat line, and we still post signs, still march streets. But how many protests till they feel defeat? You can't free your people with fear in your mouth. Gotta fight like your spirit was born in the South, like Harriet walking with chains in the dark, like Malcolm with a mission and fire in his heart.
We broken, we just bruised, we still chosen, never used. When we ride.
All right, and we are back. Donald Trump, man, this dude has an obsession with getting back at his enemies. As a president, I think it's a little petty, right? But this is who he is. People knew this about him when they voted for him. They knew it about him when they voted in 2026, in 2020, and 2024. So it's not like this is new. But at some point, the own the libs narrative, it has to end. You actually have to implement things that are beneficial to the American population. You can't run on a presidency of fixing things and then just, your go-to is just brutality and making fun of liberals and leftists. You actually have to improve the lives of the people that you are in office to serve, which is not yourself, right? So here's Trump basically trying to own the libs, right? As policy. Here we go. It says, Merry Christmas to all, including the radical left scum that's doing everything to destroy our country, but failing badly. We no longer have open borders, men and women's sports, transgender for everyone, or weak law enforcement. What we do have is a record stock market and 401ks. It's extremely exhausting to keep having to read where people are talking about, oh, the stock market is doing so phenomenally. I'm going to tell you that people with no fucking money don't care what the stock market is doing. What they do care about is the fact that Trump is saying, oh, we're going to start garnishing up to 15% of your check if you don't have the money to pay back your student loans. So you already don't have the money. Now we're going to send you into further debt when most people are living paycheck to paycheck and spend all of their money on necessities, right? But they want to talk ad nauseum about the stock market doing well and people's 401k. The only people that are doing well in the stock market are people that have disposable income to put into the stock market, which is not most Americans. But let's continue with this statement. 2 points better than expected. Oh, where were we at? Lowest crime numbers in decades, no inflation, and yesterday, a 4.3 GDP, 2 points better than expected. Tariffs have given us trillions of dollars in growth and prosperity, and the strongest national security we've ever had. We are respected again, perhaps like never before. God bless America, Donald J. Trump. The president spent his first message to Americans on Christmas saying, hey, we're owning the libs. Now, there are some things that I'm going to give him credit for. I did read that murders have gone down from something like 7,300 to 5,900. throughout 2025. That's excellent, right? I'm not, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. That is excellent. The fact that, we're down 1,400 murders. That's 1,400 people whose lives are, they're still with us. They still get to celebrate with their family and bring in the new year with the people that they love. 100% he gets credit for that. And I don't want to tie this directly to like immigration. We don't know the number of people that have been deported or have left the country voluntarily. We don't know that they directly, what percentage of those people are like violent criminals or whatever. So he's going to blame it on, or he's going to say that it's because of immigration that the murders are down. But we don't know that specifically. But he does get credit for the fact that they are down 100%. I'm not here to like kiss Democrats' ass or anything like that. Trump, on the things that he's doing badly, which are plentiful, I'm going to call him out. And the things that he's doing well, I'm going to celebrate those as well. So, no more open borders, men and women's sports, transgender for everyone. What is transgender for everyone? I don't even know what that means, right? No inflation. Listen, like I said before, people cannot afford to live as is. Most people have credit card debt, a substantial amount of credit card debt, which means that the money that they're earning at their job is not enough. So they have to borrow it, which means they have to pay it back, just like these student loans that they can't afford. So it's a revolving, this is nothing new. It's a revolving hamster wheel of, hey, you better work. You better not get out of line. You better stay on this hamster wheel forever because you're not going to be able to afford to sustain yourself, right? It's a way to keep people in line. We all know that. Let's move on to this next thing. So Trump, he's trying to list off all the things that he is doing well, right? He's trying to show, hey, my first year has gone phenomenally. I don't think there's very many people that think that. Trump it's been reported he's at a 36% approval rating. I don't know if that information is not getting back to him, or maybe it is. That's why he tried to do that announcement that random Wednesday about a week ago. And he's trying to put out this post. But here is Chris Christie, who ran against Donald Trump, I believe in 2016, that's saying that Trump is having an awful week. He's talking about this past week, we're bombing Venezuela, the Epstein files are being released, all of this different stuff. Let's go ahead and let him give his statements on this.
Start with you. Even by Trump standards, this was a erratic, chaotic week. Renaming the Kennedy Center, the stuff he did at the White House, the primetime speech.
Look how Chris Christie can't wait to jump on Donald Trump's case. I think Donald Trump repeatedly called him fat and a bunch of other like insults during the campaign when they were opponents. So it's understandable. But Chris Christie, he's so eager to go ahead and shoot back at Donald Trump. Let's see what he has to say.
What's going on?
Well, first, it's so good to be here, John. And Merry Christmas to you too, Mr. President. Look, this is a pretty strange week. Just think about it. He sends out that disgraceful post on the murder of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michelle. Then,
which was crazy. If you don't remember, there was a gentleman that was a Hollywood director. Him and his wife ended up getting, unfortunately, murdered by their son, who was a drug addict. And then Donald Trump was like, yeah, this guy was never really a fan of me, but, I guess rest in peace. After he wrote an entire paragraph about him, at the last sentence, he says, yeah, but rest in peace to him.
He puts his name on the building named after an assassinated president.
I know I keep pausing, but let's go through these things. He puts his name on the Kennedy Center. Donald Trump, it's very clear. It's been clear that he has a small ego, but it's more clear that as of right now, he sees that the sun is setting on him. MAGA is losing its luster. People are not happy with the way the administration is going. And he's looking for any semblance to keep his name, not even just relevant in the conversation, keep his name alive. He wants to make sure that he has a solid legacy, something to point to and say, hey, my name is etched, his name is already etched in the history books. He's the 45th and the 47th president. But he wants to put his name on everything. The Trump gold cards, the Kennedy Center building. The dude is looking for any sort of way to be remembered. And he's getting up there in age. So not only is the time sunsetting on his presidency, right, after these next 3 years, regardless of what Steve Bannon is trying to push, Trump is not going to be running for a third term. It doesn't matter if he gets another 200 and whatever $1 million from Miriam Adelson. He's not going to be running again. But he wants to keep his name alive, right? So these are the moves that he's trying to do.
Then he gives a frenetic national TV speech filled with inaccuracies and really sounded like he was yelling at the American people that they don't get how great he's done so far.
Yeah, he wants to chastise people into believing that things are going well. They're not going well for most people. 36% approval rating speaks for itself.
And then he puts these plaques up underneath the presidential pictures he's put on the colonnade, filled with things that you could tell just from reading them that he wrote them himself.
Read like Truth Social posts.
It did. And
yeah, so under the president's plaques, wherever they are in the White House, he basically was writing his opinions on all of these people. Trump, Obama. He said Obama was the worst president that's ever existed in America. He's been getting his shit off, and he's the president. It's his place for the next 3 years. But it's very evident that he wants to keep his name relevant. He wants to own the libs instead of doing things that actually benefit the 370 million people that are here. He wants to benefit the few and the powerful, but not the majority. It's very evident. And he keeps doing publicity stunts. They used to come very easily to Trump. He used to command all of this attention very easily with no effort. And like I said, MAGA is losing its luster. Trump is losing his luster. It's hard to look at the president, regardless of what personality he has, and people have known he's had this personality, and laugh at his antics when your life fucking sucks. It really is.
even figured out a way to get himself into the Andrew Jackson plaque, but as a martyr.
Right.
Worse than whatever happened to Andrew Jackson. Look, he does all this, John, in a week where 60% of the people in the country say the economy is no better under him than it was under Joe Biden. The war continues to rage on in Ukraine that he said he was going to settle in 24 hours, and Putin continues to manipulate him to deteriorate the 80-year NATO alliance. And twice now, in the past month, you've seen Republicans break from him on Capitol Hill on both the Epstein files and ACA subsidies to sign discharge petitions to repute both the Speaker and the President. It's not a strange week, John. It's an awful week. And the President better wake up to the fact that going to Rocky Mount, North Carolina is not going to solve his problems, and that he better start solving the American people's problems, or our party is going to have a big problem.
Start with you.
Yeah, see, that is the thing. Everybody keeps saying our party, the Republicans are going to lose in 2026. It's not about, it is about losing and winning, because at the end of the day, politics is about power and prioritizing your will, right? But it's about benefiting the people. They are there, the public servants are there to serve the public. They're there to make our lives better, to group our money as a collective and allocate it into places that are going to benefit us, not chastise or use your power as a platform to punish your opponents or chastise them or embarrass them. That's not what it's for, regardless of which level it is, from the president all the way down to, the people on your school board, your local school board. If you're in power, it's in order to be of service. And if you don't want to serve, if you're, people could go back to being media personalities if they want to make jokes and be entertainers and be court jesters. There is a place for that. You could be on TikTok making all of the jokes that you want to. You probably get a Netflix special, but being a public servant is about actually doing things that are going to benefit the majority, because that's who elected you, the majority. It wasn't a small number of people up on over in Silicon Valley that have all of this money and all of these ideas about going to Mars and shaving $2 trillion off of the national debt. You're not there to serve those singular people. You are there to serve a collective of people. And when they are not getting what it is that they need, that's an issue. That's an issue. And it's going to have ramifications on your party, but it's not just about your party. It's about the ideas. It's about the ideas not being followed through, and it's about the ideas that you present, and then the implementation or not implementation of those ideas. We need, and it's not to say that like Democrats are doing much better, right? But we need somebody that has a vision, has integrity, and is ready to take up the mantle, in the coming years and say, hey, we're going to get this boat on the right track. There's a lot of people that thought that was going to be Donald Trump. I was one of them. I almost voted for him. I'll get into why I didn't vote for him another day. I did talk about it last year. But at the end of the day, people are not happy. That's what it is. I'm not happy. MAGA is not happy. Trump is losing his luster. And the magic is gone. And once you pull back the curtain, once you see the wizard, it's not like you can just go back and pretend as if that never happened. It's not as if people on MAGA are just going to come back in droves, like Marjorie Taylor Greene is going to get back on the ship and say, oh, well, we can forget all of the stuff that happened between me and Trump, and I'm going to fight for him again. If you could lose a loyal supporter like that, then your coalition is in trouble. Okay, I think I'm going to go ahead and table that. I did have this thing from Scott Bessent that was saying that they were not going to tell the American people how the economy is going. They're just going to see it. Whatever. It was this statement from Scott Bessent basically saying that the economy is doing good and they weren't going to gaslight people into trying to pretend that it's good because they're actually having the results. Untrue, right? The favorability or the approval rating already shows that that's not the case. So we don't need to get into Scott Bessent's comments. This is the last thing I want to get into. This is Caroline Levitt and her comments on Trump. Let's see what this reporter asked her and what her response is.
Running the program says that's not the case. And also about his doll comments from the other night. The president's a billionaire. He's probably the wealthiest person to ever serve as president. Is it a good look for him to be telling parents, oh, you should only buy, $2 or $3 for your kids when he's one of the wealthiest people in the country running the government?
Do you think the people in that room in Pennsylvania who the president was speaking to don't know the president's a billionaire? I think that's a very well-established fact. And actually, I think it's one of the many reasons they reelected him back to this office, because he's a businessman who understands the economy and knows how to fix it, and he's doing it.
Running the program said
he is a businessman that had multiple bankruptcies and is looking to enrich himself. That is the ins and outs of Trump 2.0, right? There are a lot of people that are bamboozled into voting for Donald Trump thinking that their lives were going to improve. Farmers that need a bailout from Donald Trump to the tune of $12 billion because he started a tariff war over with China. We end up getting our ass kicked, and then he had to bail out Argentina so that they wouldn't be selling soybeans over to China, and a tariff war that he started. And then he spent $40 billion. He gave $40 billion to Argentina and then gave another $12 billion to the farmers over in the Midwest. $52 billion of taxpayer money, all for a tariff war that he started. That money could have gone to infrastructure. We keep, as I've been online more and searching out topics that I want to talk about, finding out current events, I keep seeing videos of stuff that China is doing or China has come out with, their technology, and it's really pissing me off. We talk about all of this competition we need to be in with China, or they're going to win the AI race. I keep seeing videos of their infrastructure, these EVs that they have, BYD. I saw a video recently. They said that the electric car that they have could charge as fast as filling up a tank of gas. We keep touting Elon Musk and Tesla as like, I know I'm kind of going off on a tangent, but let me talk through this. We keep touting Elon Musk and Tesla as like the pinnacle of EV technology and his battery technology. And he did some substantial things to get to where it is. But we've come to a standstill. There was an article today where Trump said, hey, we're going to keep these coal mines open somewhere in the Midwest. China has EVs that can charge as fast as filling up a tank of gas, and we're worried about energy from coal mines. What about taking that $52 billion that we never had to go to this tariff war with China, taking that $52 billion and investing it into infrastructure and technology and improving subway systems, improving buildings, improving roads, improving the infrastructure of this country so that we can look like the most powerful country in the 21st century. We can look like, we tout all of this American power and how we have the best innovators and our inventions are spread all across the world. These things are true. But how about we start putting money behind making our infrastructure reflect that? So, people keep saying, oh, well, Trump's a billionaire. He knows what to do. He knows how to. Elon Musk is a billionaire as well. He said that he could cut all of this money out of the national debt. And then 5 months later, he ran with his tail tucked between his legs. And then Doge got disbanded 8 months before it was supposed to be disbanded. These people, by virtue of them having money, that does not make them intelligent in all forms of economics and they don't know all the solutions just because they have money, right? And I'm not saying that I know all the solutions either, but what I'm saying is we need to get people in there that are going to defer to the experts, not own the libs as the Trump administration repeatedly wants to do. It's not enough. We need actual things that are going to benefit the American people and not just chastise your political enemies and enrich yourself and do all of these pardons for white collar crime, for financial crimes. I'm getting off my soapbox. You guys can tell me what you think. If you liked the episode, let me know what you like. If you didn't like it, tell me what you didn't like. And as I said at the top of this, I hope that you got to enjoy some time with your family. It's the holidays. I know that they have, seasonal depression where people are not feeling their best during the holidays. Maybe things are not going the way that you want them to go. But I did want to hop on. I did want to be there with you if you are not in the best mood. Provide an opportunity for people to just, have somebody that is also not just celebrating with their family and we can hang out for a little bit of time. If you have any comments, drop them down. Let me know what you think about the episode, what you like, what you didn't like. And as we said at the opening, don't add to the population. Don't take away from the population. I don't know if I'll talk to you guys again before New Year's. We'll see what's in the news, see what's happening. But I hope you have a phenomenal new year. Hope you bring it in and you make some goals about what it is that you want to accomplish in the next year, what you want to see happening in the next year. And I hope that they come true, right? So that has been the episode. Until next time, I will catch you guys later.